This is the CitizenLink Report.
If you find our insights helpful, would you support our video efforts? Your gift of $25 or more goes a long ways. Covers the crew, lights, cameras, all that. Just click on Donate. Thanks from all of us. The president says he'll bypass Congress, and he says it's all about ending discrimination. Then why does his promised executive order mean that Christian colleges may be discriminated against? This is the CitizenLink Report. I'm Stuart Shepard, and let me set this all up for you. Christian colleges that support God's timeless design for marriage and relationships are facing a very real threat. They're facing the possibility of losing federal grants, accreditation, and student loans. A college president is among those who's asking President Obama to protect them, to give them some religious exemption from an executive order that's written by President Obama. I interviewed Andrew Beckwith by Skype. He's president of the Massachusetts Family Institute, and he has more than a casual interest in Gordon College.
I graduated from Gordon in 1999, and actually both my father and grandfather and my mother all were Gordon alums, my sister as well, so there's a great deal of connection there.
Describe the school for us, for those who've never heard of it. What's the character of the school?
Sure. Well, I mean, it's a small Christian liberal arts school on the North Shore of Boston, set in a beautiful campus. There's a huge quad in the middle, which is sort of the geographic heart of the school. It's a place where Teddy Roosevelt played polo matches, and now we have, the Fighting Scots play their soccer matches. A big chapel on the campus. And when I went there, the motto was academic freedom within a framework of faith. And I think that was a good description of it. It's a very broad cross-section of the Christian faith. And I think one of its strongest points that I experienced was the way the faculty really invested themselves in the lives of the students. If you had an academic advisor, they really took time to sit down with you and go through not only what the best courses were, but big questions of life as well.
Now, with that as the backdrop, it makes sense that the president of the college would sign on to a letter asking the president of the United States not to force them to follow this. It's called a non-discrimination employment ordinance or regulation. They asked for a religious exemption. It makes perfect sense he did that, but that also gave the school a high profile.
Right. Well, Gordon has a life and conduct policy or statement that was in place when I went to school, so I signed it back in the late 90s, and I just signed it last year when I served for 2 semesters as an adjunct faculty. And part of that says that, among other things like not smoking on campus and not drinking on campus, or if you're underage, that you will abstain from sexual activity outside of marriage, as well as homosexual behavior. And they need to have that caveat in Massachusetts because, unfortunately, the term marriage has been redefined in our Commonwealth to mean something other than just a lifelong commitment of one man and one woman. But really, there's a variety of behavioral standards that Gordon holds its faculty and students to as a community of faith, and this is just one aspect of it that's been in place for decades at this point.
Now, there are two aspects of the college that are being challenged here because of the language that the president is putting out through executive order. Let's talk about them one at a time. First, the idea of federal monies that come to the school. How significant is that if they lose it?
Well, I'm not sure the exact dollar value of federal contracts that Gordon might have. I know they do a variety of sort of educational and community outreach programs. Some of that might be partially funded by grant money. They're involved in the city of Lynn, helping to educate youth there, as well as the city of Salem, where they do a production of the play Cry Innocent, which retells the story of the Salem witch trials. And I know that's been going on for a long time as well. And unfortunately, that is what got cut off by the current mayor of Salem in response to the letter that President Lindsay signed. And that's what we've seen here, unfortunately, in the local media, is really an overreaction and almost an hysteria of not unlike the witch hysteria, in a sense, of now branding Gordon as some kind of hateful, discriminatory place because they just asked to be able to maintain their religious beliefs protected under the First Amendment.
So we've got threats concerning income. We've got threats as far as, well, and it's becoming a reality, as far as access to buildings in the community. The other then is accreditation. which is basically something a college can't fully operate without.
Right, that just surfaced a few days ago and is really disturbing. The regional New England accreditation organization said they will review Gordon's status and this issue in their September meeting. And I know one of the individuals who works with that organization is also the, I think the dean or the chair of the board at Salem State University. And she wrote an op-ed in the Salem News, I think just today, that was very critical of Gordon. So it's concerning that they may actually risk losing their accreditation. And again, as I understand it, it's through that accreditation that federal funding for student loans and grants flows. So that would be a crushing financial blow to the school if they were to lose its accreditation. And that's why I think all of us of faith, particularly up here in the Northeast, need to publicly and openly and aggressively show our support for Gordon, because if Gordon College loses its accreditation, that if this mantra of, well, you can't have your religious views subsidized by the government, which is a mischaracterization of the situation, obviously, if that gains enough traction, then it won't just be Gordon. It'll be all Christian schools, all the Catholic schools and charities that operate up here in Boston, the Boston area, and ultimately all of our churches. My church is putting on a vacation Bible school this week, and it's a great ministry to the community and a great chance for evangelization. But if you have to pay the 35 to 40% corporate income tax on the tithes that the church receives, plus the property taxes on that building, good luck trying to put on a VBS when you're operating with no budget and no building.
Now, in many ways, Massachusetts, being the first state to create same-sex marriage, is the leading edge of what we're seeing as the fallout of this. We saw Catholic Charities of Boston, which shut down rather than adopt children to same-sex families. We've also seen around the country the impact of this between wedding photographers and cake bakers and others. Now, Christian colleges. This isn't just a Gordon College story. This is a Christian college anywhere in the United States story.
Absolutely, because it intersects with this federal regulation that the Obama administration is trying to promulgate. Now, I know Massachusetts has a bad reputation of late on these issues, but I'm trying to remind people that, look, the original founders of Massachusetts as a colony were people who were seeking the freedom to live an intentional community of faith, right? The Pilgrims and the Puritans. That's why they came here. And that's what Gordon is seeking, is to continue that legacy of living as an intentional community of faith and living out that faith in their lives, including communal commitments to deny the self in order to live together as a community of faith. So, when I taught there, I had to sign a pledge that I would not smoke on campus, wouldn't drink on campus or at campus events, and that I would remain faithful, sexually pure to my wife. And for students who have any type of sexual desires, they have to commit to remaining pure in that community of faith and not engage in sexual acts unless they are married to a member of the opposite sex. So everyone is called to sacrifice, to deny the self, which is a key tenet of Christian life, in order to live together as a community. And unfortunately, we live in a culture where that idea of denial, self-denial for the better good, I think is lost. We need to renew that.
Now, before I let you go, and I want to let everybody know that we are proud to be associated with the Massachusetts Family Institute. I want to give you a moment just to talk about the work that MFI does there.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, we are the local associate here for CitizenLink and Alliance Defending Freedom and Family Research Council. And we work particularly on areas of life, marriage and human sexuality, and religious liberty. And we see in this instance those second and third categories clearly intersecting. So we are a voice for family values here in the Commonwealth and up on Beacon Hill, the seat of our local state government.
Excellent. Andrew Beckwith, great chatting with you.
Thanks for having me.
We want to give you an opportunity to share your support with the folks at Gordon College. So we've put together a petition that you can sign that will go to the president, the people who work there, the students, the faculty, the alumni, everybody associated with the college. We want to know that America affirms their support for God's timeless design for marriage and relationships. We'd like you to sign that petition. Look for the link that's in the text that accompanies this video. And remember, stand tall and be heard.